okay? Welcome. Now you might not know this, but I've messed up on the grouping factoring, and this is my 4th try recording it. So, no mistakes this time, all right, hopefully. Okay, so grouping is the next type of factoring on our handy dandy factoring guide. When do we use grouping? When there's 4 or more terms. So the only other type of factoring you could use for 4 or more terms was GCF. And remember, you always do GCF, but look at this one. I have AX plus AY plus 6X plus 6Y, and there's nothing in common between all 4. Now don't get me wrong, grouping is fun. I like grouping. And you might hear some things that make you think otherwise, and I might say some things that make you think that I don't, but I do. I do like grouping. Okay, so the reason it's called grouping is because you're gonna group like 2 of the terms in this one. I'm gonna create a group here. Parentheses are also called grouping symbols. Did you know that? And I'm gonna make another group here. And the reason that I did that is there's a GCF amongst this group here. There's a GCF there, and it would be an A. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna factor out that A, and I'm gonna be left with an X plus Y. And this binomial, I created a group around there, and what can I plot out here? I can plot a 6, right? And then I'm left with X plus Y. Now, I want you to recognize that going from here to here, these 2 expressions are completely equivalent. I could distribute the A back and the 6 back, and I'd get back with what I started, right? But we're gonna go on to the next step. Look at this here as one big binomial, where this is the first term and this is the second term. And then, do you see a factor that they both share? Tell me what it is. Yeah, they both share an X plus Y. So I'm gonna pull an X plus Y out of this term and an X plus Y out of that term. I have X plus Y, and then if I pull that out, if I pull the X plus Y out, what's left? An A. And if I pull this X plus Y, what's out? What's left? A 6. And there it is, it's factored. If you distribute this, if you FOIL this, you get this, what we started with, right? What I wanna point out is, once you complete the first step, if you don't have a common factor, like our common factor in this part of it is X plus Y and X plus Y, sometimes you'll group and you don't have that common factor. If that can't be done, then it's not factorable by grouping, and most likely it's just not factorable at all, because if you can't do GCF and it's got more than 4 terms and you can't group it either, then it might just be prime. Okay, I liked it. We're gonna try another one because I do like grouping. I'm gonna erase this, okay? So there's all kinds of stuff like with grouping, like you can have 6 terms, multiple groups, or I'm gonna steal this one from the book, 4x cubed plus 2x squared minus 2x minus 1. Okay. So there's all kind of tricky situations you can run into. Another thing is like, let's say these first 2 terms have nothing in common and there's nothing to factor out. And it's just not working. Well, sometimes you rearrange them. Like maybe I would switch the 2x squared and the 2x, rearrange them. We're gonna get into ones like that, but I wanted to start with some simpler ones for our handy dandy factoring guide. This one's not the simplest. I feel like anytime the middle sign, the very middle sign is negative, it's a little confusing. And I'm gonna show you how I handle that or approach that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a group here, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna minus 2 is the same as plus negative 2, right? Isn't it? That'd be the same thing as minus 2. And then so my group is gonna be this. And the only reason I added the opposite there is because when it's negative, it can be a little confusing, okay? I prefer to make that positive, and then it just works out a little easier. But you don't have to do it that way. All right, so now look at my first group, and I'm looking for the GCF from 4x cubed and 2x squared, and it is a 2x squared. And if I factor out a 2x squared from 4x cubed, I'm left with a 2 and an x. And then, if I factor 2x squared from 2x squared, I'm left with just a 1. Now, look at this. It looks like almost like there's not going to be any GCF. There's not like a factor with 2x and 1, right? But keep in mind, once we factor it, this has to be the same as the factor that we have here. It has to be the same. And right now I have negative 2x minus 1. So what do you think we're going to factor out? We are going to factor out something. We're going to factor out a negative 1. Because if I divide negative 2x by negative 1, it gives me positive 2x, right? And if I factor out negative 1 from negative 1, it gives me a plus 1. Now I've got that same factor. So this plus, what happens to this plus sign when I factor out a negative 1? It becomes, well, you could write it as plus negative 1, but most people wouldn't write that because you don't really put a 1 in front. Really, what you're going to write it as is minus, okay? Let me know if that confused you. It just is always a little trickier when this is minus right here, okay? Now, there's my factored form. Or, I'm sorry, not completely factored. This is where we're looking at this as one big binomial and one big binomial. And what do they both share that we can pull out? Yeah? A 2x plus 1. And if I factor a 2x plus 1 from here, what's left here? 2x squared. And if I factor a 2x plus 1 out from this term, well, that's basically the whole thing. And we factor out the whole thing from something, we have left a 1. What do you think? I know that one was a little trickier than the first one, but it was fun. Grouping is fun. But my fun fact is it's overrated. It is overrated. Now, I'm not going to tell you why on the video, but if you want to talk off the record, we can do that. Thank you. One more thing in our handy dandy factoring guide to go. We're almost done.